and welcome to Spill the Art I am here with Josh Stein. Hi, Josh. How are you?
Hello, folks. I'm here with Eamon.
I'm on the other direction, boy. On the other direction.
Okay, whatever.
Whatever. We are episode 49. How about that,
49,
Josh? I know. What
49.
what excitement.
Well, but some of us are age conscious. So 49 means 50 next. And,
Oh
then you're
dear.
over the hill. Just
Are
saying.
you? Are you? Are you over the hill? Are
Oh,
you like
100%.
Sisyphus getting over that hill?
Oh, yes. I
Yeah.
prefer Tantalus,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Fair
Because at
enough.
least that involved wine grapes and the possibility maybe of having something,
Wine.
you know.
You just went straight for the wine. Always straight for the
Well,
wine.
Sisyphus has got to deal with the rock and then it rolls back down. That's really fucking painful, you
In my
know? I'm just
opinion,
saying.
you just pick up that damn rock, Sisyphus. Stop fucking rolling it. Honest to God, there has to be a beep in there. I can't be swearing in the intro already. That's
Oh
ridiculous.
no, that's perfect. Yes, yes,
uh, Josh, we have a Pride-centric episode today because it is Pride Month after all. Whoop
it
whoop.
is. It is
So we
June.
are waving that flag. So we are excited to bring on someone who is got pride right in the deep of their heart, which will happen just in a moment. But before we do that, Josh, why don't you tell everybody, all of our viewers, what it is that we are talking about today?
Okay, viewers, listeners, anybody out there? This week, two women figure skaters skate together. It's a scandal, apparently, for some people. Pope Leo the 14th invokes Van Gogh in his first address. The Win 95 startup sound has been preserved forever. Damien Hirst plans for posthumous art making. And EgyptianBlue has kind of been recreated. All that and a brand new guest are up next as we spill the art tea. Welcome to episode 49.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Whoop.
Yes, yes, yes. We have got loads and loads to share with you today. But before we do bring on our guests, Josh, tell our viewers and listeners what it is that they have to do right this moment.
Apparently, the biggest thing you can do is comment, folks, in terms of how the algorithm cares.
Ooh.
But we'd also like you to share, subscribe, send it 3 friends, buy some swag, send a guest our way, be a guest. Smash that button. But really, apparently, what the algorithm cares most about is actual comments. So even if it's just you suck, that's literally okay with us because it means you're paying attention.
Brilliant. We love it. We love it. Give us all of your bad jests and put them all into the comments below. Make us a controversy. And if you do want to come onto the show, do email us at hello@newacollective.com or this very address to steal from Grey Norton. So, without further ado, please welcome on our guest today, our very special guest, all the way from Jersey Channel Islands. It is Mr. ChristianMay. Hello, Christian.
Hi, Eamon. Hi, Josh. Thank you for having me
Hello.
on.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We're loving your lovely headgear. You're almost like Britney Spears.
Yeah,
Very
I'm doing
professional.
doing my Britney moment. Yeah, from
Very.
Jersey, which probably most people don't know where we are, but Eamon does.
I
Um,
do, I do. I've spent many a summer there and lived there for quite some time too. So a very deep love for Jersey Channel Islands, not Jersey US, as some of our American listeners might think. It's not
I was
Jersey
going to
US.
say, I
Mm.
grew up in Jersey, so we know where the other Jersey is just because we're the better ones.
yeah, New Jersey, New
Damn
Jersey.
straight.
I don't know about that now. I mean, the sandy beaches in
Oh,
Jersey are like, they're right behind you,
oh.
Christian.
They are there.
Yeah.
If I do that, there you go. Look,
Lovely.
there's
Beautiful.
just one of our many beaches.
You're doing your day job here promoting the culture of Jersey.
Uh,
As fabulous as it is. Well, Christian, we will talk about you and all the things that you're up to and how you are celebrating Pride Month later on. But we will get right on with the show, Josh, won't we, with our very first story. So where are we going to first?
so off we go to Zurich, of all places.
Oh,
Okay,
lots of money there.
when people think of ice skating and ice skating doubles, they
Hmm.
typically think of, well, one man, one woman, right? Like
Hmm.
for some reason, for more than 100 years, that's what the tradition has been. And like all these kinds of things that are like a cultural sort of thing, there's no real reason why two people of either gender couldn't like skate together, right? Like
Of
go to
course.
actual ponds and watch people skating, and you'll see this happen all the time. But apparently, this like revolutionized the world of professional ice skating. And the reason is really simple: there's not enough guys who ice skate. right? And so if you're a woman, it's kind of like a situation where you're like in certain countries where there's like a man-woman ratio problem. And so like finding people to pair up with becomes an issue. It's kind of
Mhm.
the same thing here. This isn't necessarily about like homosexuality so much as homosociability and the idea of like, why can't two people dance together or skate together or anything like that? But apparently
Mm.
people were like, oh my God, this is revolutionary. And like,
That's
it's
mad.
just very odd.
I'm
I can
totally
just
here.
imagine them,
Oh,
Josh. I
yeah,
can see them rioting on the streets of Zurich right now.
I'm totally here for all the male figure skaters, by the way. So I don't know why they think it's such a problem. So bring on the male figure skaters.
Well,
Christian, where are your thoughts on this?
I just think it makes complete sense to me, and you're quite right. Why don't we see more couples of different sexes dancing together? I mean, it's always surprised me that there was a massive shock in the UK when we saw something similar happen on Strictly Come
Strictly, yeah.
Dancing, and it just threw people's minds that two men or indeed two women could possibly dance together. They've evidently not been out to a nightclub anywhere recently, because that's pretty much what you're going to see.
Yeah.
well, when I teach this stuff to my students, we often have to like think about, well, what is we talk about like heteronormity? And you don't like, it's not like a big sign, heteronormity, right? It's literally something like this of just like an accepted tradition of, well, if you're going to pair off, you always should be pairing. Like, well, not really. It doesn't have to. Like other team sports, you're not like, well, I guess we're going to have a mixed gender football team. Like,
Mm.
no.
No,
Although you
no.
could, and that, by the way, is my answer to all of like the anti-trans sports activism. Just create a third league for anyone who wants to be in the league. Done. Move on. Right? Like, there's a lot of different ways to solve all of these kinds of things, but
Mm.
mostly it just starts with acknowledging how sort of like inherited the system is, as
Yeah.
opposed to something that's like naturally the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. We've come a long way since the sort of Victorian debutante balls, haven't we? And
I
yet,
hope
when you
so.
look at this, we haven't.
Well, yeah, but like I think that reading the article, there was a lot of things that were prompted as to like who lifts who, and like why is that, like when that's part of the rules, that it's usually the masculine that would do the lift, or the feminine that would be the person that would be lifted. And I suppose that's kind of like down to a bit more into the whole trans community as well, as and where the issue is with that also. So like I mean, it's just sometimes I mean, I'm not that strong generally. I'm strong enough, but a woman could definitely lift me if they tried.
I was just thinking, wasn't that the visual gag at the end of that ice skating movie many years ago, where she lifts him up instead of
Yeah,
him
that's right.
lifting her? The whole idea of like, I get that some of it is absolutely about physicality, but that doesn't mean you look at cheerleading teams, it doesn't always have to be men that are lifting the women, right? Like,
No.
it's this
It's
idea like
it's
people,
exactly. It's about the athleticism and and
Yeah.
how they portray,
yeah.
the spirit of what they're doing. And I'm all for Eamon. If you're willing for episode 50 to get on the spandex and have a woman lift you on skates, I will tune back in to watch that.
I feel like everybody would tune back in for that. And potentially, yeah, let's set that up. I'll just hire a
Next
ring.
week is episode 50, so I guess we know what Eamon's doing as a special side project this week.
I'm going to go find an ice skating. Although a previous guest, Danny Hatchard, who we had on, I was ice skating with him last Christmas, and he was just trying to hold me up by my shorts. So much so that the belt around my waist broke. But anyway, yeah, that's probably another story for another day. But there you go. Let's move swiftly along, shall we?
Off we go.
Into our next story.
Off we go to Rome. So
We
this
love
is
it
less
there.
about the Pope per se, and just the fact that here's an example of where Van Gogh has shown up yet again.
Love a bit
Van
of
Gogh
Van
has
Gogh.
this famous painting, right? It's called The Sower at Sunset. And so it's basically like a general, oh, you got the picture. Here we go. It's like, so like a person, a farmer's walking through the
prepared.
fields and sowing seeds as they're going, right? So they'll have time overnight. The sun is setting, so the seeds will have time with moisture overnight to begin to sprout, et cetera, et cetera. And the Pope invoked this in his message to the world. Like, this is his first, like, right? They ended the thing. Hey, we got the new Pope. This is his first message after that. And it was kind of interesting that it's Van Gogh that was invoked. a man who at the time no one paid attention to, who thought the painting style was not adequate enough to expressing how humans actually experience the world. And here we are 130 years later. And guess what? No, this is exactly what we need to be able to express how we are and who we are.
Mm. I chose the Holy Sea because it reminded me of like that story of the how the sea opened up, or converged, no, verged out. Words, England,
Separated. For those of
separated.
us
Thank you.
for those of us that use English as our native language,
I'm Irish. Leave me alone.
I was
Anyway,
going to say, I'm not counting either of you on that.
diverged.
Anywho, diverged. How the water diverged and created a beautiful pathway through
Yes.
the lands to see something new, shining bright like a diamond up in the sky. That is the sun. Anywho, that's what I went to. But I also, all I do when I see Van Gogh painting now is I hear Philomena Kunk of Diane Morgan quality, who is just ripping to shreds the Van Gogh paintings, where it's just, if you haven't seen it, just watch it. But yeah, I love it anyway. I think it's great that they're still
Speaking of
using artwork.
Philomena Kunk, did you ever
Yes.
see the show? It was a series, only 2 series long, called Damned, that was about social workers in the UK.
No.
Philomena Kunk played a reporter in one episode of that
She did not.
series. I swear to God, she did. She shows up and she does her Kunk thing. She just nods along and gets someone to talk. And
I had to go and watch. Oh my goodness.
Damned. It's only 12 episodes total, right? It's a typical UK series, so only 6 episodes for each season for those Americans out there. But it's available on Amazon via BritBox. I highly recommend it. Really good series.
Yeah, and just so that you all know, we are not being endorsed for this publication.
No.
This is all free sponsorship, guys.
But you'll see some very interesting guest stars in the series, and also several of the stars of the series end up becoming much bigger later on in their careers.
Oh, well, anything with Diane Morgan in it, I'm here for. She's just the bomb. I love her. She's great.
Anyhow,
so back to the Holy See and Van Gogh.
It's great.
I mean, for me, as someone who isn't as much in the art world as both of you, but I was watching when the new Pope was chosen.
Yes.
And you just recognize how much we associate sort of iconography and art with what we think about the Catholic faith and how we think about faith as well. All the images we have of Jesus and the images we associate with faith come from artists across the centuries. And I think the Pope speaking and using imagery that Van Gogh generated shows that it moves, and faith moves, and actually you can capture some of the most important messages about faith in some of the art like Van Gogh's, and it's just fantastic.
No, definitely.
It means something.
Yeah, that raises the other issue that occurred to me, which was the Pope is doing what we often do with abstract art, right? Which is figuring out what it means to the person as opposed to what's intrinsically there. And I've always argued that you can do the same thing with stuff that's more realistic. That's the whole point of painterliness, right? It's not a photograph. And so there is a shade of humanity in the painting of the picture, which makes it interpretable. You can read that scene a lot of different ways. Right? Is the sun going down? Is the sun coming up? Like, there's all different kinds of ways of seeing it. And the Pope chose to see it one particular way, and Holy See, pun intended, and then run with it in terms of incorporating it into the narrative. What I find interesting is someone like Van Gogh, who's a complete cast off at the time, who no one paid attention to, right? Whose sister had to fight for him after his death to be noticed. Like, that's exactly how the meekest become the mightiest in the faith, the language of the faith of Catholicism.
Absolutely. I think as well, just to kind of pay just a little bit of note to the prehistoric pre-Christian art history modules that I had to endure in the first year of university, that were just all about iconography, colors, and symbols and all of that. And I stayed awake through most of them, so it was good.
Well, street art owes everything it does to that, because street art, in working against much of that in terms of messaging, uses much of the way of signaling that was created across thousands of years that's what art was for a very long time in the West. It only supported one thing and one reason, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that we still see like sort of tendrils of that, but also like today's different. And it's kind of cool that the Pope is not pointing to a Christian painter, right? It's
No,
not something
yeah.
from the past, from 500 years ago or something. It's literally someone who was considered completely sort of out of the bounds of all of that.
Yeah, it is quite a pagan painting, isn't it? But that it kind of looks at the just back to the fundamentals of nature and life and
Yep.
harvesting crops. Oh my God. Okay, right. Let's move swiftly into our next
If
story.
it's not potatoes, he really just can't.
Thinking about the crops.
I
Thinking
don't
about the
know.
crops. It's
He did
harvest
not have
season.
enough. He did not have enough pre-workout today. What can we do? It
I
is
did
what
not.
it is.
There's been no pre-workout held
Nonetheless,
today. Nonetheless,
off we go. Off
Yes.
we go to the Library of Congress, which apparently still does actually store things. Who knew? And guess what has now become forever stored in the Library of Congress?
Did they hit file save as though, Josh? Did they hit file save as?
Is there a sound that goes along with that? I think there was in the original.
There is. Do you want to hear
Windows
it?
95, like everything had a sound, as I recall.
Do you want to hear it? Do you want to hear it?
But
Let's
this
hear
is
it.
this is the sound.
Oh, and now we're blank. But, well, you got the picture. I'm now sending blanks. There you go. But no comment. Move swiftly from that comment. Okay.
So that 7-second clip, that sound, is now immortalized forever, along with all kinds of other things. And apparently, it's only the second like computer sound that's been saved.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But those sounds have such a sort of an emotional resonance with us. Like there are sort of clips on YouTube where someone will play a series of sounds that you know from your youth and absolutely just bring back a memory of sort of that 1995, 1996 period.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the dial-up the dial-up tone for
The dial-up tone.
The modem.
the modem, Nokia ringtone, the original
Hello,
ringtone.
Moto.
Yeah.
Things like that evoke a period, and it's amazing how just short clips like that can really just spark your memory in a way that seeing something maybe might not do so.
Well, as a creative designer, right? I'm a creative designer. That's the kind of thing you're hoping for, right? You get paid to create an experience of all the use of things, and obviously with a computer, it's more than just sitting at the screen. Sounds like that absolutely influence how you use it, right? Does it feel welcoming when you turn the computer on or not? And so the fact that something like that's been immortalized speaks to the fact that like what we used to think about as kind of like decorative arts. How do you arrange a house or an office to be welcoming to visitors? Well, you do the same kind of thing when you're talking about the digital space. You just use different tools in order to make that happen.
I think you'd probably be able to tell me as well, Josh, but isn't the rolling hills image that's used on the Windows XP background like one of the, if not the most viewed picture in history now?
Oh yeah, but even better than that is I know exactly where that was shot, because that was shot literally about 30 miles from me here in the Bay Area. And so you can literally drive over by it and see it anytime you want. It's the same rolling hills, right? Like absolutely 100%.
Still not as pretty as Jersey Shore, but there you go.
I challenge you on that. Parts of the Jersey Shore, the real Jersey Shore.
Not the real one, the one. All I hear when I hear all of those sounds, they just triggered just all of those kind of history things in my life, and it's just like,
yeah.
For better
you're
or
not
worse.
sitting there thinking of like a nice summer. You're playing Snake on your phone. You've had a Bacardi Breezer.
Bacardi Breezer at 4. In 1995, I was 3.
On your Nokia, your Nokia Oblong. Oh yeah.
I loved the Nokia 3210. That was my favorite. Or no, I loved the flip phone, the Motorola flip phone. It was really cool. It was flat. And it was
That's true.
That was
but
really
you could play
stylish.
Snake on that one too, as I recall.
You could. Yeah, you could. Simpler times, guys. Simpler times.
Snake is in the Video Game Hall of Fame.
There you go.
It should be.
It's one of the most played not Minecraft. Remember Minesweeper on Windows? The same thing.
Yeah, that was great too.
That everyone's played those, so they rank up there in like the trillions of plays because it's part of people's like wasting time. That's what they've done for years.
I always felt Minesweeper was a bit of a rip off the what's the one with the ships where you
Battleship.
Yeah, I always kind of felt like they were
Minesweeper was actually trickier than Battleship You think about it. Minesweeper was actually adapted for the fact that you could like basically just click on it and have like 3 different things happen, and it translated over.
All your young viewers are listening, going, "What the hell
What are they talking
know,
about? What
I
are they
know.
talking about? My little cousin is what? He's 8 or 9. Tommy, hello, Tommy. He's watching, and he always watches, and he's like, "What on earth were you talking about today?" I was
I
like,
still
"What was
have
that?"
I still have a working 300 1200 baud modem that connects via SCSI to an
Oh,
Apple
and the nerd
IIc.
parade
To
is
an
out.
Apple IIc. One of the very first portable computers had a handle and everything. It all still works.
I have a room full of that shite, and none of it is mine.
I have I have a desk full of like old Nokias that I could get out tomorrow. You could chuck them down a cliff and go to the bottom, pick them up, and they would still work.
People collect that stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, don't sell them. Keep them. Keep them.
No,
So you can.
no.
I would rather have one of those phones now than the iPhone. I would rather it.
Well, you could do
Why?
that.
Because it would make life so much easier. Because I'd have to listen to nobody. People would have to just like send letters to me, or
And there you would be on the tube playing Snake.
I would. And you know what? My battery wouldn't die. Do you
It's a
know
whole
what?
movement.
My
It's a
battery
whole
wouldn't die,
movement.
and also, I wouldn't need to be connected to the internet because it's on the phone.
Well, in
So-
the US, it's a movement. People do it on purpose. They literally intentionally put themselves using older technology so they can still get telephone calls, they can still get email, but they can't get distracted by 99% of the other stuff that's on a typical smartphone.
Would you stop
so
the
it
whole
allows
collective
them
would fall
to-
apart if I did that, Josh? Would you hear that? Nothing would happen. Anywho, we're
Somebody
spilling
has
that
a
tea.
big ego on a
And-
Monday. I guess so.
That tea is spilled, and we're moving now into, speaking of Nua, into a little promo just to say hi to Nua Collective, and we'll be right back after these very messages. Nua Collective, an arts community collective with art artists and art publications with fresh work, news, and updates added weekly to our online collection at newacollective.com. Here you will also find our new journal featuring articles and podcasts, which are also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, like this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss us out on Spilling the Art Tea. Every Thursday. Yes, everyone, we have changed. We are now going live to you in your very city on a Thursday, not on a Monday anymore. It's all on the tea. The tea is spilled on Thursday. So, with that in mind, we also have other tea. We have other tea to spill. So, the new Anecdotes exhibition will go live next week. Will go live next week, slightly later than previously advertised. So it will go live next week on
Mid-June.
Tuesday, another tea, Tuesday. So you will see our Anecdotes exhibition, and it will come in the form of a magazine. So the new mag is coming to a stall near you, i.e. the online store. So do check it out at www.newacollective.com. That link is very through below. Excellent. Now, Josh, before
Yes.
we move swiftly on to our next story, tell our viewers and listeners what it is that they have to do.
Oh, well, a comment. Comment's always good.
Comment. Yeah,
comment
that's your
is
new
the
one.
best thing.
Comment in the comments below.
Leave a comment. Tell us we suck. We're happy with that. Absolutely.
We don't suck.
Right? It worked for Primus. It could work for us. Primus's
Okay.
whole shtick was Primus sucks, and that's what people would scream at them in early concerts. So yes, tell us that we suck. 100%.
Who's Primus? Is that like a 1920s joke or something?
Oh my goodness. Anyhow,
He's very young, Josh. He's very, very young.
very, very
Look at that wrinkle-free forehead.
Les
Oh
Claypool
dear, just
is
ignore the bags.
Brought to you by botulism.
Les Claypool is one of the greatest living bassists of all time.
Ah, well done.
Primus.
Excellent. I love a bass player.
When Primus's drummer quit, like 10,000 drummers generated videos within a week trying to get that gig. That's how impactful Primus has been. Anyhow, moving
Okay,
on.
This is what would happen if you went offline, Eamon. There'd be movements to try and take your place
See?
and host the podcast and do your voiceover work.
Oh dear. Well, can we go back to the question at hand, though, as to what our viewers and guests are supposed to do? Not guests, but yeah, guests, you can do it too if you like. What are they supposed to do, Josh?
Like, share, subscribe, comment, send it 3 friends, buy some swag, be a
Buy some
guest,
swag. We have
send
some
a guest
swag.
our way.
We have
Buy
some
Eamon
swag.
some pronunciation lessons so he finally
Why?
learns how to say
No, Eamon, no,
swag.
it's not even the pronunciation lessons that he needs. It's just sleep. He needs sleep. If he got the sleep, he'd be able to pronounce. It's just tired. Amo is wordless. Amo, England words, English. But look at
I'm
this
glad you've
swag.
chosen a podcast.
What the fuck are you saying at this point?
But look at this swag. Look at this swag. Christian, have you ever heard of the term FOMA?
I haven't. Why didn't you tell me what that means?
FOMA, it means fear of missing art. Ooh. So get yourself a FOMA t-shirt now.
TM, the C in a circle. That's ours. That's ours.
That's ours. We just don't have the money to pay for the trademarking. So
It's very impressive swag.
thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm here till
Thank you.
Thursday.
Thank you very much.
I'm here on Thursdays.
The 9 o'clock show is completely different than the 7 o'clock.
Oh, is that after the watershed?
The Thursday show. The Thursday show is always going to be better than the Monday show because we've gone through the week. We've gone through the week. We're a little bit tired after the week's work, and we're only all here for Friday. So this is setting you up. So if you're watching and listening on your Friday morning commute, then
Everybody's working for the weekend.
we're giving you the energy to work for the weekend. Yeah, baby. TGIF. TGIF.
So speaking of that,
Speaking of what?
wouldn't you like to live forever?
Yes.
Would you not? Would you both not like to live forever?
If it came with us years like a lifetime supply of money, then yes.
Well, presumably, if you live forever, then that would be part of the deal.
Okay.
Damien Hirst has come up with a way
to
keep
loads of
making
money.
art. So this is, well, how did he get the money? Because he comes up with shit like this.
Okay.
So Damien has come up with 200 creative briefs that will be sold and then opened.
As in like underwear or like...
I can't speak to that.
How creative are these briefs?
I can't speak to that. But basically, you buy the brief, which is a document.
Yes.
Which gives you permission.
Thank you for the clarity. Which
gives you permission at a certain year, at some point in the future, to make the art object described inside of said document.
How cool is that?
People are aware of Soloit did this for many, many years, right? When you buy a Soloit, you buy a certificate of authenticity and a set of instructions to be able to make your own Lewitt on the wall. If you follow the instructions of how the Lewitt is supposed to be made, that picture is officially a Lewitt, even though a different artist actually did the painting. Okay. So the logic of this has been in the past. It's conceptual, capital C conceptual, but it's been around for a while, right? But this is after this guy is dead. Right? No one has made the art. They don't even have to make the art because at a certain point you can just keep buying the briefs and not actually make the art at all. And you think about what he's done before, right? You could buy an NFT or you could buy the physical object, but you couldn't have both.
Yes, but we've all had work days like this, Josh, haven't we? That that you're going to do like. If you're lucky enough to get like number 1 to 10, the brief's can be really detailed. It's gonna be really exciting. When you're around the 70s, it's like yellow square.
Yeah, you're getting those briefs in Primark.
Like,
that's what's happening.
By the time he's get up to 200, he's like, fuck it.
How this ties into the larger project with Hirst? He got into a major trouble last year because he started releasing pieces that he was backdating to the point at which he discovered the idea.
Story. Yes.
Piece, right. So a new animal in formaldehyde showed up, but it was dated from the 90s. Because he said, I had the idea for this in my sketchbook back in like 1996. So
I think just for viewers, that's not the animal currently shown on screen.
No. I'm trying to move this story along.
not the bouncing bunny or whatever the hell it is, chipmunk or squirrel, whatever that is. No,
it's a bunny.
No. Whatever. So the point is, Hirst is well known for trying to play games in this way with like, well, when does something actually get dated? When is an art piece actually created? If you're coming at it from a kind of high art conceptual perspective, it's really interesting. What it looks like from the outside, I think, is he's screwing around with people's heads and trying to make money along the way, right? And like anything else with art, if people will pay for it, then guess what? It's art.
Is he really an artist anymore? Like Damien Hirst? Come on.
Well, I mean, he has a production studio, right? most of the most expensive artworks that are produced by living artists, most of them are produced by assistants
In the
or with the
studio,
aid
yeah.
of assistants.
Hmm.
Even if they're physically painting at least some of it themselves. I'm looking at you, Jeff Koons. That's really not how this is happening at all, right? Jeff Koons doesn't cast. He gets someone to
Spotlight.
do the casting for him. Jeff
Mm.
Koons is not reproducing artwork that's historically accurate. He's got other people that are sitting there. Literally, it's on camera, him watching them do this.
This
But it's
this is not unlike what they did in the Renaissance either.
That's exactly the
Where
point.
they had whole studios doing it. But it's just the idea that that you'll have that, or you'll have the detachment of the artist being dead. You have created the IKEA instructions for creating art, which will be implemented post his death, and that I suppose, as you say, it takes the conceptual part to another level, because we won't know until certain decades, generations down the line, when we're all long dead, what artwork number 190, 200 is.
Well, I think you can go even further with that, right? Which is the idea that 100 years from now, something's going to get backdated to the early 21st century. And with art, the older it is, there's a natural accrual of value on the monetary level that's just built into it, right? So the thing hasn't actually survived across time. Normally, a piece of art that is like dated from some time in the past has had to physically exist in the world, not get burned down, broken, destroyed, accidentally, like whatever, right? Like none of that's happened because it's an idea. And so it really starts to question like what matters most. And should you value more the sketchbook rather than the finished piece? Because that's what he's saying is, look, I came up with this idea at a certain point and it got physically manifested at a different point. But the actual idea for this started back then. He does have a point, no pun intended. The question is, in the world of value, which is much more about immediacy, not about ephemerality, in the sense of not being around.
So
right?
you're
It's
saying
like,
let's put value on the idea rather than on the delivery.
that's what conceptualism is. Yes.
Well, I suppose look at what Catalan did. He wrote instructions on how to tape that banana to the wall.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, is it like a case that if he sold that next set of instructions to somebody, but they could only open it in 50 years' time to build that, is that the same idea?
Well, immediately after he did that, it was all these like mock stuff that showed up of like an apple taped to the wall.
Yeah.
Well, okay, is the person who's doing that creating something original? No, they're biting. But in music culture, taking samples and remixing,
Samples is such a thing, yeah.
But remix culture, right? Like you have a song, you get 15 different DJs, they all take the same song, remix it, they put it together as an album, and it's 15 different versions of the same original idea. So a lot of this is context in terms of what the audience is willing to pay for or accept.
I suppose the really interesting point, Josh, is also that there will be intrinsic value attached to these instructions. So, but they will be sealed, I understand, until the point.
Exactly.
So you don't know what you're paying for when you are exchanging and buying these sealed sets of instructions across the next hundreds of years, until the point at which you can open it. And one could imagine, as more artworks are produced and the value of those increases, someone could be paying millions or hundreds of millions for a sealed instruction number 200 without ever knowing what's inside it. It's a Schrodinger like artwork.
It's a Kinder egg. Who knows what's inside the Kinder egg, right? I mean, that's who knows.
But I mean, I guess. But can we not all do that then? Because, like, I mean,
if you come up with the idea first.
I have tons of ideas, right? I have tons of ideas, but never have any money to make them or put them out. So it's like, okay, here you go. Here's 200 ideas of things I want to do with artwork, or how I'm going to do things, or present projects and that kind of thing. Here you go. All right, I'll sell them to you.
Well, I think you two have just invented the ultimate combination of this, where Eamon, you will come up with these conceptual ideas, and Josh is going to seal them inside Kinder eggs.
Why do I get all the hard work? That's just a rinse and repeat for him. I have to come up with all the ideas.
I would say that the first form of conceptualism, right, capital C conceptualism, that showed up in the mid 20th century, that evolved not because of monetary issues or like the lack of physical resources, so much as an evolution of thought that went back to actually when photography started taking pictures. It's like, what's the point of painting? What's the point of reproducing stuff accurately? Well, ideas don't have to be reproduced accurately because there's no measure against, right?
Yeah.
So this kind of neo-conceptualism that I think you're talking about is very much more a 21st century thing, which would be, well, look, we live in a digital world. And you can certainly have AI substantiate whatever you can come up with, even though it will always look like AI generated it. But nonetheless, the idea, in a certain sense, is what matters more in the world of the 21st century than the physicality. Most of us live our lives through screens.
We do.
Most of us experience the world, organize it. Even if you're not watching shows on your phone, if you lose the phone, your contacts, your spreadsheets, your accounts,
they're all in the cloud.
Assuming that you are backing up to the cloud, yes. Plenty of people don't. Plenty of people don't trust the cloud. And so if they actually lose the item, it's gone forever. It's no different than a photo album that gets burned up in a fire.
A lot of people don't know it's in the cloud. That's the other thing.
What's in your cloud, Eamon?
Oh, that's lots of
I could tell you stories, Josh. I could tell you stories.
Let's come on, Christian.
Lots of pretty things in my cloud.
The post-watershed version of the podcast.
Excuse me? We'll have to have a Spill the RT 2026 calendar shoot.
So onwards we go.
Onwards we go. Okay. Might I add that we have not lost sight of the fact that you did mention AI 35 minutes into the episode. There's a bit of a delay there for you, Josh. Anyway, moving into story number 5. Here we go.
Off we go to Washington State University. People have probably heard about a tone or a color called Egyptian blue. And most people are like, well, what is Egyptian blue? Egyptian blue kind of looks like blue linen. Apparently, it's a range of colors. It was not one color because Egyptian blue was a process of making it rather than one particular hue or tone. So researchers went back through, they gathered all different kinds of essentially color slices, if you will, from existing Egyptian blue objects. And then they went about producing 12 different ways to make Egyptian blue. Because as I say, it's a process. And depending on when heat is applied, how things are cooled, the resulting blue hues can be much darker blue or much lighter blue, much more sky and gray. So it's from 5,000 years ago to today, we have recreated this pigment and by doing a slightly different process, kind of given the same kind of colors.
Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the pharaohs and the Egyptians for bringing blue into my life, for it is part of my being. I love it ever so much. So thank you.
Well, apparently the big deal about Egyptian blue was it was a much cheaper way of producing blue than the other options that were available back in.
Well, lapis lazuli was a big, expensive way of doing that, wasn't it? Yeah,
that had to be found and then ground up, and transported, and so very expensive. This was done apparently right there on site in ways that didn't require that kind of transport.
Oh. There's a couple of images there of the process and some of the different types of blues that they found that I robbed from the article.
I mean, I know you've got a particular sort of love for blue, Eamon, and
I do.
And I suppose it is for many people the most sort of evocative color. That I as I said, I'm not as sort of buried in the art world as you are, but have been, I suppose, myself looking into different blues recently and learning about Klein blue and the process involved there, and and it just it always seems to be the blues that are the most evocative, the shades that people want to reproduce it, whether from historic colors or more recent period. And it back to the Greeks. I know you started off with your favorite Greek sort of anti-heroes and Tantalus. The Greeks describing the sea as wine colored, and us trying to understand with our modern interpretation what that means, and how they saw blue in a different way that we do today.
Well, the thing is, the sea actually isn't blue, and the reason that when we teach history of color theory, one of the things about blue is it's very rare in actual natural environments for the color blue to exist. Very, very rare, because it's actually more purples than it is actual true blue. And so the wine dark sea is actually probably pretty true, right? Because greens in shadow can start to take on much more darker tones, burnt umber, all kinds of things that look nothing like when we, like as little kids, we draw the ocean as like this blue ocean. In the same way, the sky isn't really blue either, right? It's a diffraction of light. And so I think blue, we're sort of primed to see blue as something special because it's so rare out in the world around us. Like it catches our eye in that kind of way. And to me, the interesting thing is that people would transport stuff across thousands of miles to be able to make this color. right? Like this was apparently a major breakthrough when the Egyptians figured out how to do this through a different process, because the trade routes then got bypassed. They could create their own trade routes because now they had a product that people wanted instead of having to go to other parts of Central Asia.
And it's such, as you say, Josh, it's tied into these, the iconography of pharaohs, of going back to what we were discussing earlier, and the Holy See, tied into Christ and
Iconography there as well,
to the Virgin Mary. So it's always been a color that's gained that importance and been applied to those particular special roles and special images. And it is fascinating how much it captivates people as well, Eamon.
But it's like absolutely, when they did use blue in any of the classical paintings, it was used as a signal of something that is powerful, or someone that was really important.
Royalty.
So and royalty being a huge one, and mainly because it was so damn expensive to use. So
blue and purple were much more expensive.
I love purple too. Purple is nice.
And up until Queen Victoria, I think it was the main wedding color for all royal brides as well.
You'll see silver and gold. You'll see silver and gold used much more liberally than blue and purple, because the blue and purple pigments were much more expensive than silver and gold. You could pretty much go digging for silver and gold anywhere, but finding purple and blue pigments, that was a trick.
And I think also, you'd have to check me on this, but that's why the sort of when you married and you were hoping to have something lucky and expensive, you have the something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. Rather than something gold.
Well, that's why it's something borrowed, something blue, right? The blue is the expensive, the borrowed is the cheap.
Borrow, steal,
beg.
You're the one with the wedding coming up, so we'll see what you do, dude.
You look lovely in blue.
I will borrow, beg, and steal to pay.
That's right. You should both get blue suits. I think
blue suits.
Everybody will wear blue, right?
Of course.
You can have Lord playing in the background because we're royal.
Oh, that was a low move. Okay, right. So that concludes our blue discussion, and thank you, Pharaohs, for bringing it to us. Christian, now over to the Pharaoh himself. All the way over.
Thank you. I always enjoy a blue discussion with you.
I love the blue discussion. We are coming up Pride, all things Pride in Jersey Channel Islands. And Christian, you are the current director of Pride, I'm assuming still?
Still the current director of Pride. It's my 10th anniversary of being director of Pride.
You just can't escape it.
I can't. Try as I might.
So tell us.
I think them out, they pull me back in.
They're pulling you back in. Tell us what's happening this year in Channel Islands Pride.
Well, we're back in Jersey, so Channel Islands Pride moves between Guernsey and Jersey, and we've been growing every year since we kicked off in 2015, and we're a small island, but actually we are looking about, I think, 12 to 15,000 people turn up for Pride in Jersey now, and it's a wonderful way to celebrate. Jersey is a gorgeous place. We celebrate right down by the beach in People's Park, and we've got some brilliant local talent, so drag artists, some singers that have gone quite big now in the UK, and one of our groups called Rumba Club, Tom Fall, who's a local lad from Jersey, is currently touring with Patrick Wolf, and they've been all over Berlin and Germany, Poland, and elsewhere, and so Tom's coming home to perform. And then we've got our headline act, Alexandra Burke. It's fantastic that we're having Alexandra in Jersey, and I think she will finish off our Pride celebrations probably in the best possible way.
Wow, oh, she is slaying. Excellent. Unreal. Very good. So there's lots of activity happening in Jersey. And tell us, when is it on this year? When is Pride on?
It's Saturday, the 21st of June. It is the longest day. So we are prouder, louder, stronger, and even longer this year.
Fabulous. Amazing. You're really cashing in on that. So and tell what is it that people can do in order to celebrate the best way? How can we learn about it? Where can we kind of find out more information about it? All of that.
Oh, well, we've got ChannelIslandsPride.org, where people can have a look at all of the information about coming over to Jersey, coming and celebrating, because it's not just for islanders, and we do get a big turnout from our local community, but also Jersey's a great place to go and visit for a long weekend. Come over and celebrate in the sun. Come and come to Pride on the Saturday the 21st of June and then go to the pool party the next day and relax in the Lido whilst people ply you with drinks and suntan lotion and all those other associated things you get on a small sunny island that's barely 30 minutes flight from London.
Yeah, and stay for the week, buy the Jersey pearls, and enjoy the Jersey ice cream, and
But one of the most interesting parts of it, and it's free to attend Pride in Jersey, so it's free to come to the village, free to take part in the parade, and we're very proud of that because we can only do that because of our fantastic sponsors. But I think you'll remember, Eamon, one of the biggest moments of Pride is getting out the 50-meter Pride flag.
Yeah.
And I suppose I wanted to ask you, Josh, because talking about iconic images and iconic pieces that have evolved. I was reading today about the original 1978 Pride flag, which has seen 4 or 5 iterations now, and it's moved beyond those core colours to include chevrons that celebrate our trans community, the Black community as well. But it's still, for me, when you see it, universally recognised, and in and of itself, a hugely important piece of art, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, the power of visuality is the power of repetition, right? So the more you see something, the more it is able to have an impact, because it literally creates its own impact in the process of being reproduced. And that's why it's important. I mean, this is the foundation of ACT UP, right? Like literally, unless we do this, it doesn't get done. Unless we create our own visuality, our own visibility, nothing happens, right? And so to me, I think it's actually just a wonderful example of, like, if you will it, it actually makes it happen. It doesn't happen because people just decide, well, maybe. No, you actually have to make that happen. That flag has to get iterated, that it has to be reproduced, it has to show up, right? And so it's on the one hand, it's at the micro, but all that micro adds up to a macro. And people, I think, lose that, particularly in the world of the digital. It's easy to lose your agency and to have your agency simply to become eyeballs.
Definitely.
But the way stuff gets made is with hands, right? I talk about it in my own work as I deal with people who have calluses. You can have physical calluses, you can have mental calluses. But what that means is you're literally, to use the cliche, putting skin in the game in some way, right? Like you have to make it happen. Otherwise, it doesn't happen.
I think as well as how it has evolved, the flag has evolved over the last, as you quite rightly said, 50 years. And it's incredible to see even the new edition, which has been around maybe 4 or 5 years, with the chevron and the intersex circle. It's you will instantly recognize it. So I mean, as much as we kind of see the journey of it have evolved, it still holds its integrity, and I think it becomes instantly recognizable because of how proud we fly it. So
to me, it's also because in the US, there's this current movement, right, to try to change the history, to erase certain people. Like part of the struggle is okay, but other, like they tried to erase from the Stonewall Monument the fact that transgender people were part of that original movement at the Stonewall Inn, right? And so the fact that something like this circulates, it's a counter narrative. It's out in the wild, like a weed. It can't actually be captured. Like you can keep trying. Try to capture every image you can, try to change it, try to make it into this false history. But once stuff is out, it circulates beyond the power of anyone to control it. And that can be both for good or bad, right? Like bad things circulate too in the same kind of way.
Yeah,
and so it's important to put this kind of thing out there as a counter narrative. The darkness is always on the edge of town, folks. It's what you choose to do with it.
Absolutely.
That's Tom Joad and Bruce Springsteen. And it's always there. There are wolves on the edge of the fire every night. It's how you choose to deal with that makes the difference.
Beautifully profound as always.
And if you don't, they will eat you. Well, I'm not here to be eaten.
The wolf is at the door, Josh. The wolf is knocking. Don't answer it.
Absolutely.
Don't answer
Go armed.
They'll go straight for that
carry a big stick, as we would say in the United States. Walk quietly, but carry a very large stick.
Okay,
that's a president that said that. I'm just historically quoting.
Well,
things.
I mean, we question president choices sometimes. Anyway, So, with that in mind, it's been great having you on the show, Christian. And we are very excited to hear about how Pride goes. So we might bring you back on again to have a chat about Pride if you will come back to do
It's been a
so.
great pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You've been spilling lots of tea with us, and that's really great. So, um, if you would like to be a guest and would like to join us on Spill the RT, you can do so by emailing us at hello@newacollective.com. And Josh is doing some sort of winding motion now
No,
because
we're listening to you, and come on down. Come
yeah,
on, this is pretty
absolutely. Yeah,
straightforward.
yeah, yeah. Come on down. I'm like, what's her name? Who did The Price of Right or some? I don't know who did all that.
I think that was a guy, but whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe they were just having troubles with their sexuality. So, with that in mind, and in all things positive and free-spirited as we are celebrating the month of Pride, please do share the good word about Spill the RT and spill the even greater word about Channel Islands Pride, which is happening on the 21st of June in People's Park in Jersey. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you, Christian, for joining us. Thank you, Josh. And we'll be back spilling tea next week on Thursday. Remember, Thursday. Until then, we'll see you very soon. Stay spilling tea. Stay creative. Bye.
Bye.